Go time. All right, good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progressives. You know, a lot of people haven't really given any thought to what food stamps are. Food stamps tend to be seen as just something that poor people get, something that slobs get, something that people that didn't take care of their bills and just didn't, they screwed around and fucked off. And, now all of a sudden they get these food stamps, right? You see these horrible assholes looking over their shoulder to see if they're getting crab meat and things like that. That's just horrific people looking over people's shoulders to find out if they're scamming the system, Because little people, they're scamming to try and get some food. It's just stupid. Even if they got $2,000 worth of food, it's such a non-scam compared to the millions and billions these fucktards up top keep stealing from the people. Okay, whenever you see people staring at the little people, wondering why they're getting over, you got to know something is wrong with them. Something is really, really, really wrong with them. And there's something really, really wrong, though, with our system as well. In the way that we convey the system, in the way that we talk about the system, and the way that we understand why these things even exist in the first place. The economy as a whole affects everyone, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. It affects all of us. And so in order to take some of the edge off the business cycle, not just for the people, but for the actual corporations as well, they implemented things like food stamps and other things called automatic stabilizers. These automatic stabilizers, as things go bad, they automatically kick in. As things get better, they automatically go away, at least temporarily. Automatic stabilizers are a hedge against catastrophic economic conditions. Most people think that is just to give people food, that's the real reason behind food stamps. It's not. It's to keep the entire economy from tanking. And as people start getting pinched in layoffs, as people start getting pinched in widespread economic malaise, automatic stabilizers kick in to keep the economy from bottoming out. And that's what happened with food stamps. Food stamps are a great program. Why? Not for the people. Forget even for the people. Forget the people. Let them starve, right? The idea here is that it was originally done just to keep the economy and these various businesses out of the hole. Out of the hole. And it just so happens to help people. So Donald Trump, in this last week, celebrated a deal he made with the Democrats to extend the debt ceiling for, I think, 2 years. And by doing that, it's in many ways, that's a great thing. Except the things that they're willing to pour more money into are the military. But yet, today they announced that they're trying to close loopholes in the food stamp program that will kick close to 3 million people off food stamps. 3 million people. Out of 350 million people, it's not a lot of people. It's not even 1%. But you look at what we've got in terms of military spending and then trying to say, even without understanding economics, even if you are an economically illiterate person and are damn proud to be it, there is no way in the world you can tell me that you understand why they would suddenly want to cut food stamps while simultaneously blowing up the deficit, if you will. Blowing up the deficit. Anytime you hear somebody that, just punch them in the neck, smack them on the forehead. It's just nonsense. Anytime we blow up the deficit is a good thing, just about. I mean, for real. But they're spending it in all the wrong places. All the wrong places. And you've got, really, in my opinion, one group largely to blame. And that's the left. That's us. Why is that? Because we are so freaking cool dropping gang symbols and everything like that that we can't be bothered to learn about economics. We're out there shooting the shit, taking selfies, Snapchat and everything else. We're out there flirting. We're out there playing games. We're not worried about learning economics. And so when the Trumpsters come through and they decide to make life just a little bit more difficult for everyone, the left is ill-equipped, once again, per the usual, to stand in the gap and help people. They'll scream, it's morally impossible, it's wrong, it's horrible. They couldn't answer the question of why. It's just bad because it hurts the little people. Well, of course it hurts the little people, because they're ne'er-do-goods. But it hurts the economy as a whole. And if we actually understood what was going on, instead of just saying folklore, GOP would sell out their grandmother. That may be true. But it doesn't hold any water. It's not a real argument against cutting food stamps. You don't even know what food stamps are for, most people. Most people just think it's something that give people that didn't do anything right in their life. I want to go ahead and read this article here on food stamps. This right here, how Trump's plan would affect food stamps, I think is really important. So let's go ahead and go through this. So this is in PBS. It says, how would Trump's food stamp plan affect low-income Americans? The Trump administration has proposed a new rule that could eliminate food stamp benefits for 3.1 million Americans if the change goes into effect. The proposal could save the federal government $9.3 billion over 5 years. Stop right there. Stop right there. This is PBS. I want you to understand why I revile our own team. Our own team. So-called left. Fake left, obviously. The proposal could save the federal government $9.3 billion over 5 years. Please tell me how a government that creates money needs to save it. Just spitballing, folks. Just fucking spitballing. How does a government that creates its own currency every time it spends and deletes currency every time it taxes, how is it possible that it needs to save money? Not just needs to save money, how could it save money? The federal government doesn't have like bank accounts to save money for a rainy day. That's not how it works. So who is PBS trying to shove a fire rod up their ass? Who is this that's making this stupid claim? How many lefties do you think the federal government spends too much and we got to cut spending? How many of them do you think that? I want you to ask yourself, because I'm not worried about the GOP. The GOP does what the GOP does. It's like telling a freaking border collie to stop digging. It's like telling a border collie to stop herding children in the yard, herding them around because they're a worker dog. It's like telling a puppy that's teething to stop chewing on the leg of your chair. It's stupid. It's going to keep happening. Or it's like screaming at a puppy that's taking a shit on the floor. Well, you haven't potty trained it yet. Of course it's going to take a crap. The left is supposed to be the vanguard, the defense against this lunacy, but it's not. It's not. It's more than happy to go stomping around, fist in the air, and ignoring this stuff. Ignoring it. So you know the GOP's not helping you announce. And then the left can't be bothered to learn what an automatic stabilizer is. Can't be bothered to learn that the federal government can't go broke. Can't be bothered to learn that the only way that spending occurs is when Congress authorizes it. But they can't be bothered. They won't be bothered. They refuse to be bothered. And then we get this. Do you see the cause and effect of that apathy, of that recalcitrant apathy? That self-imposed ignorance? How can we be the defenders of the poor and the weak if we're too damn lazy ourselves to learn how economics works? We can't protect the soul if we don't learn how it works. Let's keep going. The proposal could save the federal government $9.3 billion over 5 years. But some worry that this policy could come at too high a cost if families lose the ability to buy enough food they otherwise could not afford. Do you see they're taking the wrong tact here? It may pull a few heartstrings, but it's not the right tact. SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, feeds an estimated 36.3 million Americans in 43 states, the District of Columbia, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. According to preliminary data from the USDA from March, that's down from a post-Great Recession peak of 47.6 million people. 47.6. The program was designed to allow states to automatically enroll people and ease the administrative burden of distributing food benefits without essentially auditing each potential recipient. Thus, in the past, it hasn't asked recipients to prove they qualified if they already met the minimum threshold to receive benefits through the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, another federal social safety net benefit. Now, let's look at that again. We're not going to go past this. We're going to stay right here. The program was designed to allow states to automatically enroll people and ease the administrative burden of distributing food benefits without essentially auditing each potential recipient. Why do you suppose that is? If the real story was trying to make sure that these people that are poor and broke are getting this, it would have never started off without worrying about auditing them, because that's that needs-based bullshit. No, what they're trying to say without saying it is that the real reason was the federal government was trying to keep the economy from tanking, so it created this program. And it really, when the economy tanks, it needs those people on there because that's how it spends money back into the economy when it's a downturn economy. How many people don't understand what an automatic stabilizer is? An event triggers. An event happens. It triggers payments. It triggers people falling into the food stamp program. It triggers people into unemployment. It triggers people into welfare. It triggers people into a job guarantee. Oh, shit, we don't have one of those yet. Why is that? Because we can't get our head out of our ass because some knucklehead doesn't understand what an automatic stabilizer is and decides they want a UBI, not realizing that it's just status quo. Anyway, so now the Trump administration wants to ensure that people who have at least a couple $1,000s stashed away can't get assistance. As a result, it's estimated that 8% of people currently enrolled in SNAP would lose their benefits. Let me tell you something. When I lost my job at Verizon after 17 years, I had received my pension, which was nothing. Got hit with a huge tax burden. And I received my 401k. which again, another huge tax burden when the payout came. And I had to survive on that for 18 months. That money dried up real fast. Real fast. And we did take food stamps. We did get CHIP for our children. Now, it helped us immensely, no question about it. But in reality, it was just another way of keeping the economy from completely bottoming out. I just happen to be the dude that they're spending the money into. It's not your tax dollar. Do you get it? Do you get it? This is super important, guys and gals, because the Donald Trump machine is enjoying making us look like idiots. He's doing this stuff, and we are ill-equipped to fight him back. And it's important that we fight him back. Folks, it's huge. Not only is this an important automatic stabilizer, but it truly does help those families that need it. So, what impact would these changes have on the program and low-income Americans? PBS NewsHour asked food insecurity and poverty experts for insights. What is the proposed change? SNAP is the nation's largest federal nutrition assistance program. To qualify for benefits, the government takes into account a person's income, if any, and how much they pay in rent, mortgage, utilities, child-related expenses, Social Security, veterans payments, medical bills, if they're 60 or older, all this neoliberal means testing. Okay? Neoliberal means testing. Just another way of making the people feel a little bit worse about themselves. Anyway. That information enters a formula to calculate how much you would receive in food stamp benefits. On average, a person receives $127 or $1.39 per meal. Gosh, can you imagine getting over on that? Wow. Let's call on the dogs. Ridiculous. In monthly SNAP benefits, according to the Senate on Budget and Policy Priorities, the new proposal says that if your gross income is 130% above the federal poverty line for a single person, that's a little more than $16,000. And if you have more than $2,250 in assets, you will no longer be eligible to receive food benefits from the USDA, said Diane Schazenbach, an economist and director from the Institute of Policy Research at Northwestern University and senior fellow at the Brookings Institute. Oh my God. The people most likely to be pinched by this change would be low-income working families and elderly individuals. But those who support the Trump administration's proposal say the people who will lose their benefits have been exploiting the program for years. Now, I want you to know something. If you thought that this was your tax dollars paying for it, then you would be very guarded and you'd want those tax dollars because you want to make sure people aren't stealing your money. You want to make sure they're not getting over on your money that could have been used for your kids, right? Makes all the sense in the world if you don't understand modern monetary theory. If you're one of those people running around that refuses to learn, or has worthlessly called it a cult, or chosen to ignore it outright, you're part of the problem. Not someone else, you. You're part of the problem. You're just as bad as Trump. Don't shake it off. You are. Own it, accept it, strap it on. Because the fact is, if you understood, he couldn't get away with this shit. But he's going to get away with it because you were too cool. You were too cool to learn this. You refused to learn it. You made an active decision to imperil the lives of many, many people because you were too cool to try to learn MMT. I don't pull punches here, folks. I'm not here to be your BFF. I'm here to tell it to you straight. And I hope it pisses a few people off, because you might need to be pissed to take action. You might need to be really fucking pissed so that you finally take the time to learn this stuff so you don't kill anybody else. That's right. Because when people don't have food, they tend to die, right? See? See how that works? Let's keep going. This move would close a loophole that allows states to give people federal benefits without properly vetting recipients for eligibility, said Robert Rector, a senior research fellow at the conservative think tank Heritage Foundation. Rector, who has studied poverty for decades, is a longtime supporter of streamlining food benefits and was one of the architects behind welfare reform in the 90s. To him, the lack of asset tests and food stamps has long created an aura of fraud and abuse, which undermines public confidence in welfare programs. Jesus, God, these people are idiots. States are generally not to be trusted spending someone else's money. Never have been. Folks, right there, let's highlight that. If you don't get anything else out of this talk today, let's talk about that right there. It ain't your tax dollars. Anyone that says so is wrong. Now, I used to sit there and say they were a murderer by proxy, so I'll continue saying that they're a murderer by proxy. Why? Because they're a murderer by proxy. When you set the stage with ignorance, when you're telling folklore tales about taxes paying for things at the federal level, you imperil the lives of many, many people. You make life suck for other families. You make people's lives suck because you refuse to learn. You are guilty of harming families because you thought it was your tax dollar that paid for it. Now, mind you, you're a victim too because you've been lied to by the people up top, these idiots, these economists that tell lies constantly, talking about the taxpayer dollar, and worse, politicians that use the Thatcherisms and the Reaganisms to talk about the taxpayer dollar. That racist trope is lethal to progress. It's lethal, and it's been used to expert precision to make sure the left is impotent to fight back against neoliberalism. And those people who thought it was a cult and wouldn't learn it or anything, they're complicit. Complicit. They are complicit in the destruction of the social safety nets. I want you to know that. I want you to own it. I want you to look in the mirror and know that there's somebody out there that died from a lack of food and you had something to do with it. I don't want you walking away unscathed. I want you to recognize this. I want you to own it because maybe then you'll change. Maybe then you'll make a decision to actually be useful and help people. It's unfathomable to me that they can get away with a statement. States are generally not to be trusted spending someone else's money. Fuck you, Rector. What a name. Fuck you, Rectum. I mean, this guy is an asshat. So recently, in a video produced by Foundation for Government Accountability, a conservative advocacy group, a millionaire in Minnesota named Rob Undersander highlighted the Snap loophole when he, as a wealthy man, applied for and received food assistance benefits. Because after all, let's be fair, the food assistance bankrupted the state, bankrupted the nation. What an idiot. What a freaking bloviating idiot. According to Shazenbach, Undersander is such an outlier and not representative of the vulnerable people who stand to lose. USDA data from 2017 showed a mispayment rate, which includes the overpayment and underpayment of benefits, of 6.3%. But caseworker error was the most common reason, not fraud. The Washington Post reported, citing the USDA and other government programs such as Medicaid had a much larger error rate. Now, I want you to think about something. You're sitting there, you just lost your livelihood. Your family is struggling, everything's going awry, and you're banking that in 3 months' time, hopefully you can find a job. Sometimes 6 months. Maybe it's 8 months. Under these bozos' idea, until you get down to such a bare minimum of any reserves at all, you can't be eligible for anything. So you better start selling off your assets so that you fuck trying to make it through, man. You better sell off everything. Now, if that's the America you want to live in, fuck you. Just fuck you. Okay? You've got like zero moral compass. Worthless. Worthless. So, how significant would this rule be? This isn't the first time the Trump administration has tried to scale back food stamp benefits or how many people receive them. In 2017, the Trump administration recommended slashing $193 billion from food stamps in its proposed budget for the USDA. That proposed cut amounted to more than a quarter of food stamp funding over a decade and would have taken the form of changes to eligibility and work requirements. God, they even want... It's almost impossible to read for me. For other people that probably get mad at it for different reasons, because this is all bullshit in a chef's salad, it's like reading a bad science fiction novel or some bad bullshit fiction book somebody wrote when they were sitting on the John sometime. I mean, it's just god-awful. But when Congress passed the Farm Bill of 2018, conservatives on Capitol Hill and the White House pushed for adding work requirements as a condition for receiving food benefits. That criteria was ultimately axed from the final bill. At the state level, this debate has played out for years, notably in Arkansas. And just to think people don't have any idea how to fight back. They're too recalcitrant to learn. To rector, this latest change proposed by Trump helps the federal and state governments maximize limited dollars to help low-income families. Oh my God, read this again. Let's read this together. To rector, this latest change proposed by Trump helps the federal and state governments maximize limited dollars to help low-income. Why is there limited dollars? Are there real resources to purchase? Is there food to purchase? Are we throwing food away? Fuck. God, what is wrong with these people? Idiots. Idiots. The only shortage of money is because these ass licks refuse to spend on the people. They keep acting like spending money into the economy is somehow or another going to hurt it. They want to shame the poor. Every day they tighten the screws just a little bit tighter. And we as the left refuse to learn how to effectively fight back. And it is shameful. Shameful. And it wouldn't be such a big deal if people didn't have to suffer for it. But because people don't want to learn, these people have to suffer. I think they should be handcuffed to each other. People that refuse to learn MMT and the people suffering should be handcuffed to each other under the bridge so that they can feel what it's like, that their lack of interest in MMT and lack of interest in how federal finance works is killing people. Oh, shit, he said it. He went for the gusto. He hit it out of the park. He called his shot. It went yard. Yes, killing people. So I believe in all these programs, he said. You need to target the resources you have. To Elaine Waxman, who studies food insecurity as a senior fellow with the Urban Institute's Income and Benefits Policy Center, the proposed rule is puzzling. This change would take away money that puts food on the table, she said. According to Waxman, as written, the rule would be the most significant rollback of federal food benefits since 1995, when the Clinton administration launched welfare reform. Despite the flourishing economy, wages and work hours have nevertheless struggled to rise, said Waxman, who warned that if these rollbacks take place, you're signing on for higher rates of poverty and food insecurity. And you know what? She's right. She's absolutely right. Low-income families are always trading off between food and other basic necessities, and food is often the first thing to go, Waxman said. When we see things that reduce access to SNAP, that's going to ripple through people's lives. Good God! I mean, this is the stuff that enrages me. Enrages me. I don't care about Tulsi. I don't care about Elizabeth Warren. I don't care about Beto. I care about this stuff. Because this is real. So what's next? The proposed rule will be published online in the Federal Register Wednesday. Then a 60-day comment period begins, and anyone can leave a positive or negative feedback about this rule. Folks, this is a call to arms. It's time to read and write and tell them to fuck this shit off and literally stop this nonsense. Stop the poor shaming. Stop the economic illiteracy. Then the federal government will then collect and analyze comments, issue its own response and final rule, modify the proposed rule on people's comments, and either table the action or enforce it as is written. Could the courts play a role in deciding this? It's too soon to know if food stamp advocates or states choose to pursue legal action. For God's sake, we sure as hell better. State governors will likely complain about the changes. Absolutely. Because what happens when spending in the states goes down? Tax revenues. Because every time these people spend money on their food stamps, with their food stamps, that money is circulated through the government. And that's how they pay for roads, and that's how they pay for schools and everything else. So you're damn right governors will be complaining, and rightfully so. Whew, God, man, that stuff really, really pisses me off. Anyway, Rector sees the potential changes having a marginal impact and that it would make the program and state use of federal dollars more transparent, he said, adding that he does not foresee any unintended consequences. Folks, the unintended consequences start with the fact that this is an automatic stabilizer that kicks in when people need it. The other part is that they're going to be kicking people out that really need it, and people are going to be doing really bad things to their lives to try and fit into this role so they can eat. But Waxman predicts the potential for hardship. If you roll back a program and you don't have evidence that there's significant income improvements coming through the door, then you're signing on for higher rates of poverty and food insecurity. Jeez, oh flip. I mean, this is just about as important as you can get. But why will we not get this? Why will we move on and talk about some other bullshit thing instead of this? I don't know. We need to write. We need to put as many comments as we can. We need to be proactive. Folks, you need to learn what an automatic stabilizer is. I don't care about the moral reasons why people need to eat. That's not the answer here. Although it definitely is part of the deal. The impact is death for many. It's food insecurity for kids. But more to the point, it's not taxpayer dollars. Get it through your fucking head. It's not taxpayer dollars. It's public money. The government creates it when it spends it. Stop saying taxpayer dollars unless you want to be guilty of murder too. Is that your choice? Do you just want to be a murderer? Is that really what you're going for? Is that the look you're looking for? Disconnect from the term taxpayer dollar pronto. Stat. And start realizing that the government spends money into existence on these programs as a means of stabilizing the economy. Not so freeloaders can get over, but so that the economy doesn't tank for all of us. People are freaking morons, and we are not smart enough yet to be able to defeat their level of stupidity. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Have a great fucking day.